Do you ever get the feeling people are incapable of not caring?
All right, the movie, The Whale. Great movie, presenting overweight people in a sympathetic way.
Why'd you gain all that weight?
Someone close to me passed away, and it had an effect on me.
Or is it a ruthless exploitation of prejudice against overweight people?
I'm sorry.
You say you're sorry one more time, I will shove a knife right into you, I swear to God.
Go ahead, what's it gonna do?
This is a really difficult one. This is my third time of trying to record this because I kept finding myself drifting off into talking about obesity, the causes of it, society's judgment, and those things are all touched upon by this movie. So it's a very powerful topic. And just this week, there's been new legislation passed in New York State strictly prohibiting discrimination against people on the grounds of weight and height, with certain exceptions. I presume they must relate to things like firefighting or flight attendants, and probably issues where either being too big or too small really does make the job impossible. So it's a powerful topic, and exploring this movie has brought several things to my mind where I thought I had an idea. I thought I would have a valid input, and I realized that it's actually quite confusing and very difficult. So back to the movie itself. The story is basically fat guy eats himself to death. But because human beings are involved, it's never that simple. And the why is the reason that comes up immediately. Why does this guy lose control so much? Why does he eat himself to the point where his heart is going to fail? We find out that he's trying to reconcile mistakes that he's made in his past.
I need to know that she's gonna have a decent life, where she cares about people.
He thinks he can do it with money that he's made, particularly in the relationship with his daughter. And we find that it seems he's caused most of his relationship problems by selfishly pursuing one type of love exclusively, albeit it's kind of an all-consuming passion with his boyfriend, but it's ruined all his other relationships. So this apparently simple premise becomes very complicated. So we consider, I think what the movie is trying to present is the case that even a massively obese person can solicit our sympathy and support.
I need to know that I have done one thing right with my life.
And it's about the person inside, not about the external appearance. And does this movie achieve that? Yes, I think it does. I strongly connected with the character.
Think about the truth of your argument.
Now, most people are overweight because they eat too much. And in modern society, with so much refined sugar and readily available food, particularly in the West, it's difficult temptations to avoid. But one can't jump to the conclusion that someone who is overweight is just ill-disciplined and lazy and doesn't exercise. Because, for instance, there are physiological disorders which lead to a person feeling hungry every single second of every single day, never being able to satisfy that hunger. And of course, will eat according to that basic stimulus, and yet never able to be satisfied, will probably end up overweight. There are people who've been through all sorts of trauma who find comfort in food, and therefore the tendency there would be to overindulge. It's only natural. As somebody who tends in the other direction, tends towards eating less, working out really hard when I'm under stress or feeling inadequate in any way, I can certainly sympathize with that, because I'm sure my feelings come from fear of rejection, that if there was something physically wrong with me. Now, actually being slightly overweight is not, apparently, according to medical research, is not really detrimental to your health or your longevity. And remember that we are mammals. We are designed to store food, to get through bad times. But we don't have that kind of life. Most of us don't live that kind of life anymore. So it's an unnatural life, which has unbalanced our metabolism in many cases. So before we judge anybody, we have to think really carefully what could be the real cause. Walk a mile in a person's shoes before you judge them. And I think this movie is very good at presenting that. So the story is good. It's a feature-length film made in one apartment, mostly in one room, adapted from a stage play. It keeps us involved until right up to the last moment, where for me it goes wrong, but we'll come to that now. So I think, yes, it's a successful movie from the story perspective. It cost $3 million and it made $53 million in the box office. So that's a huge financial success. My only drawback with the story, in my eyes, is the very end, where I think it doesn't work for me. It lost me, sadly, right at the very end. And although I believe the intention is that it's supposed to be a little bit enigmatic, it lost me and I felt disappointed in the ending. But since then I've been thinking, well, how would I do it? I've got a much better idea. But I couldn't come up with anything. And this is one of the issues that came out with this film. It's very thought-provoking. Something I didn't feel was quite right, but I couldn't think of a better way to do it. I didn't even have any ideas. I just drew a blank. So it's a provocative movie in many ways. The direction, I think, was flawless. Darren Aronofsky, except, as I say, the ending. But then I don't know what else he could have done. So if the intention was to provoke and leave people asking questions and giving some serious thought to these issues of prejudice against obesity and generate sympathy with how somebody could end up in this situation, then I think is 100% effective, and therefore it's brilliantly directed. Now we've gone to the actors. Brendan Fraser playing Charlie, title role, won the Oscar and a whole stack of other awards. What a comeback, what can you say? I mean, just a fantastic performance. Hong Chow also nominated for the Oscar. Extremely important factor here as a demonstrator in the film of unforced affection. And when she lays her head on Charlie's chest to watch movies, you really feel like she's getting something out of the relationship. It's not one way. She gets great comfort from him. Sadie Sink, Ellie, conniving, a very convincing portrayal of a damaged kid with high intelligence, using the bitterness, the anger, resentment inside her to influence other people in ways that are not entirely clear. We're not sure if she deliberately tried to help Ty Simpkins' character, Thomas, the evangelist, to resolve the issues with his parents and his religious community and go home, or whether that was accidental. So great performance. You just don't know where you are with her. You have your suspicions, and she's obviously putting up a front, but what's behind that front is not clear. So I think it's a great performance. Special effects. I mean, we'll talk about fat suits in a minute, but it's so good that even in the shower scene, within a couple of minutes, you stop the natural tendency to start to peer at it and see if you can see where the joins are and, oh, it's a fat suit, how did they do it? It's so good that you soon forget to do that, and you're in the world of the obese guy, and you stop worrying about that. It just becomes real in the setting. So fantastic, and they've won numerous awards for it. Now, the elephant or the whale in the room. Should a former action hero hunk be playing an obese person using a fat suit? Well, people who argue no say, like, oh yeah, a fat person should have got that role. But if somebody was as morbidly obese, and the important word here, morbid, morbidly obese as the character, they should be worrying about their health, not about acting in movies. And I don't know if it would be at all practical. It would be extremely difficult to have such an actor in the movie. It could be done, but I don't really see the benefit. So if you say that a hugely morbidly obese person should be trying to get their health sorted out and not worrying about acting, perhaps, then you say, okay, we'll take a fat person and then what? Put them in a fatter suit. So you have a fat person in a fat suit, and that doesn't really resolve the issue one way or the other. And as Darren Aronofsky said, it's just part of being an actor. If you wanted to go for roles playing fat guys, and there are plenty of actors who are in that category, there are others who decide that if they remain skinny or slim or conventionally normal build, they can play those roles. They can slim down a little bit if necessary, and they can be either eat like bulk up, for a role, or they can wear a fat suit and then take it off afterwards. It gives them more diversity. And let's remember, this is a career, so not doing this purely out of a sense of social responsibility. And as Dove Simmons is famous for saying, it's show business. It's not show art. Sure, you can go and make a movie for 8 of your friends and they all think it's wonderful and the rest of the world is not interested. But as Robert Kiyosaki says, your income is a measure of how many people you are serving. And this movie cost $3 million, made $53 million. A lot of people were served by this movie. And so it's show business, it's a success with a great actor. Putting a lesser actor who's happens to be overweight into that role, would it have served the purpose as well? I don't think so. So it's a complicated one. And then we also have to say, well, what about Hong Chow? Because in the the stage play version and the script, there's no mention of her being Asian. And there's no problem with her being Asian, but they just quickly modified the script. Oh, we say she's adopted. And she was wonderful in the part, absolutely fantastic. And the script was adapted to make that, to maintain the reality of that scenario. So what's the problem? So does the same apply in other directions? There have been ridiculous movies made like John Wayne as Chingit Khan, but they were also made from business decisions. Those movies were seen because it was a huge box office star and people were educated, not necessarily completely accurately, about Asian historical figures. And one can argue that it's all about the time at which these things were done. So the movie multiplied the cost, the investors' money, by 10. In terms of social responsibility, was I taken into a different world and on a journey, as one expects in a movie, to be entertained and taken on a journey? Yes. Was I made more sympathetic and understanding of obese people? Yes. So to my mind, it was a great film. What do you think? Answers in the comments below.